Hey everybody. Whew. I got a lot to talk about. It's about 5:30. Temperature is 81 degrees. Humidity is 31%. Let's go over here and show you what I've done today. Made these out of 5/16 inch steel. I initially tried to bend one piece and then weld this cap on here, but the amount of hammering and blows that it took in the vise to get that, and it's just put too many tool marks in it, just wasn't satisfactory. So I decided to weld them as 4 pieces, 2 sides, a back, and a top. They're going to be up under the flight deck, so they don't have to be beautiful. Each one's going to have 3 holes in it for 3 rivets or 3 screws, and a top hole for a top bolt. When I say screws, I meant bolts. There's really no screws anywhere on the flight deck. All right, so what these do is, this is an actual piece of 42-13-571, and this is upside down, but this represents exactly what I need to duplicate for the majority of the flight deck floor. It's about 20 gauge. It's magnesium for sure, because you can see the magnesium oxide on here. But what these do is, imagine if there was a wall here, it butts up against this wall, and then there's going to be some kind of a filler in there, either aluminum or Bakelite or something. The real one used I don't know what the name of it, but it's non-metallic. It's an earlier form of plastic, but what that does is you put that bolt through there, and it gives a nice firm place for the flight engineer seats to attach to. So there's, for every beam that goes across for these the flight deck or the flight engineer seats, you've got 1 set. So they're spaced out exactly 1 inch, and then so that'll be like 1 main beam, 2 main beams, 3 main beams, and then you got the beam that goes across, and it has wings for attachment points here, here, and there, and it's spread out about 3 feet. I'll go here and show you where they go on the real deal really quick. Before I do that, I'm going to point out what I worked on all day yesterday, which is this pattern for the adjustable Astrodome platform. It's going to be 1/2 inch all the way around here, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch. And these big guys start at about 2 inches and then taper down to 1/2 inch. And there's going to be 4 of those. And here's the track where the track that it rides on fits in this 1x1 area. And there's the steel that I'm going to use to make all those, whatever, strengtheners, I guess you call them, for lack of better words. Let's go in here. I've got a lot done on this thing since the last time I reported in. I've got these interior walls mounted exactly like the real aircraft. Sorry you can't see very well, but the rivet heads are on the inside and the squash tails are on the outside on all this stuff. I guess they did it kind of uniform, so your riveter would be on the inside and your buckler would be on the outside. But this thing is, you could park 2 tanks on this thing and it wouldn't budge. I got that one done and that one done over there. What I've been working on, other than what I just showed you, is that guy right there. He is the housing for the adjustable platform. And I decided to work on this because I'm getting these major components built so I can space things out to make sure everything fits. He's 5.5 inches thick or 6 inches thick. I can't remember. I initially made a form and made it with 1 piece, but I discovered that it was impossible to install, because what happens is there's a shelf that perfectly fits around, and that's what it actually rivets to the main beam all the way down the line. And then these interior pieces, you can't see them, but they're spaced 1 inch apart. They're countersink 1/8 inch rivets all the way around. So this rivets to this horizontal platform, and the horizontal platform rivets to these beams. And then, of course, this is upside down. Well, take 3. This is upside down, but that's the way he's going to go. And he'll be able to go down all the way to the bottom, and he'll be able to come up to about right there, because there's going to be big, well, not big, but I-beams that go from here down to there. And there's going to be a foot mechanism which has pins that when you push it in, the pins go back that come out of that channel, or vice versa. And there's going to be 2 big springs that go from here up to some triangulation. And basically, as I mentioned in earlier videos, the entire back end from about right there of the pilot's console is dedicated to this. So this all has to go. And then there's going to be the triangulation, which makes a home for the E8 Honeywell autopilot remote control, as well as these switches over here. And I don't know what that is. I think that's like the master prop reverse button or something fancy. But that's all going to be cut off really soon. And I'll just keep this for decor until I gradually rebuild this entire thing. It won't take me very long. Oh yeah. So back to these guys. They mount exactly 2 inches away from that lateral beam right there. So about right there. And then it skips an inch. And there's one right there. And then there's going to be one right there, one right there, and then one here. Skip an inch, one there, there, there. And the last 2 are on the outside of that beam over there. And then once everything's in place, from this wall here to the middle of that seat track is 4 1/4 inches. So that seat track will be right there. And between the 2 seat track rails is 15 1/4 inches. I'm going to have to build the seat tracks out of steel to make the I-beams. I got a quote today at the place where I get my steel, $65 an hour to operate a milling machine. And, you know, 3 or 4 hours of work. I got my mill over there, but it's probably just going to be cheaper and simpler to make it out of steel. No reason to kill myself over that, financially or physically. Well, I believe that's about it. This thing is really coming together. Once I get those things in there that I just made and get that platform built, get those I-beam rails, channel, whatever you want to call them, up, it's going to be a lot of detailing. Well, until then, I'll see y'all next time.